We as employers are human too. We completely agree with the government that the aging population is a problem. However, we don't see how all the policies that they have imposed actually are going to help the situation. As we have seen, that the birth rates have actually been stagnant. And you completely haven't dealt with my first speaker's point, that the opportunity cost. And we question, where is all the money going to come from? Is it going to come from our taxpayers? If so, can our taxpayers afford it in this economic recession? Now let me move on to my two main points of contention. First, on your policy. Secondly, on creating more manpower opportunities. Now on your policy, I would like to talk about feasibility first. Now feasibility, as I have mentioned, there's a whole point about opportunity cost here. With all your Singapore Mothers Union, University, and all your other childcare facilities that you want to impose, can our government afford it in this economic recession? We ask you, if you want to implement this policy, please give us a place that this money is going to come from, and whether you're going to compromise on the economic stability of our people in this process. Also, on the idea of subsidies. No, thank you, ma'am. If you're going to subsidize the people for all these things, and your target is the poor and middle-income families, we question, how are these poor and middle-income families going to pay for the rest? We've already given you the example of the artificial reproduction technique, where the one cycle is actually $7,000. This means that the person from the poor and middle income family, no thank you ma'am, is actually to pay this $3,000. Mind you, ART cycles don't always work, so these people might have to go for cycle after cycle, and we question whether these people have the money to pay for this. And we question also on your education infrastructure, where are you going to build this infrastructure, and where's the money going to come from? Now, on the idea of effectiveness, now you tell us, yes, the birth rate is not decreasing, but in fact stagnating. We tell you, for the $1.6 billion that the government has intended to put in the 2008 baby bonus enhancement package, how are you going to justify this stagnant birth rate? Are you going to leave people more financially secure in this economic recession, or are you going to let most of this $1.6 billion remain stagnant? And also on the idea of sustainability, we tell you the government budget is indeed finite, and families not just think about the short term, how to raise a child, whether it's on diapers, on milk powder, and things like that. How are you going to ensure that the family is able to raise the child and give the child a good quality lifestyle? You obviously haven't come up to us about that, and we tell you that most of our Singaporean population will actually think about how we can sustain the child's quality of life.
Point, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. As I was saying earlier in this scheme, that there will be a social worker to help the parents through marriage all the way until parenthood. For example, the child is 3 years old. So the government could give them, there is this infant care subsidy. For example...
Thank you, madam. I understand that you want to give infant care subsidies. However, we tell you that poor and middle-income families might not be able to afford this childcare. Even if you think that these poor and middle-income families can afford childcare, what about primary school, secondary school, and so on? A child is not just going to live up till it's 6 years old. So let me move on to the idea of creating more manpower opportunities. If you want to protect the job security of pregnant women, then please come up. Then all the government needs to do is to provide legislation. There's no reason why we need financial incentives for this. And about childcare centres, I'll be talking about this in my point, so I'll talk about that later. And about the whole idea of coming up with causes, we tell you that if you're going to subsidize these causes, about 35%, I quote you, then the 65% will be coming from the person himself. And if you're going to give financial rebates for having children, then we tell you that all the money you're going to give these people are going into the causes that they're actually going to take. So where is the money for milk powder? Where is the money for diapers? So let me move on into my substantive, that on hurting a healthy business environment. Now, companies have already committed themselves to the laws of the land. Companies in Singapore all agree with the baby bonus scheme that was implemented in year 2001, enhanced in year 2004. However, employers today believe that we cannot compromise economic efficiency any further. We tell you that in this economic slowdown of -2% to 1% economic growth next year, we tell you that if you want more of your female employees to go on maternity leave, is the work going to be done? Now they tell us that they're going to inform us 7 weeks in advance so we can find a replacement. But we tell you, how are you going to train this worker in 7 weeks to do the job of the previous worker? So let me move. And the other option is to make the present workers cover costs, cover the work for this absent person. And we tell you that this will create a negative working environment, and it's because it creates less time for these people to go home and date and procreate, or even spend time with their families. And we tell you that it's ironic when the government is trying to cultivate a work-life balance in this case. So we tell you that only when our government doesn't hinder company efficiency, companies are in a better position to build childcare centres like OCBC has done last year, 2 years ago, and only then can we bring economic and social benefits to our country and its people. Thank you.